Welcome to Rule of Thirds, an offshoot of our Screen Refresh podcast. Our goal every episode is to take a little break from watching and analyzing movies to dive headfirst into some nostalgia or just get a little creative. So every month we select a different topic and create a top 3 list that may or may not be near and dear to each of our hearts. Shoot us a message over on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Screen Refresh, or shoot an email at screenrefresh@gmail.com to let us know what your top 3 are or suggest future topics. I'm your host, Nick, and I'm joined today by my co-hosts, Dean and Tim.
Gotta remember to write something cool to say.
Me too.
Today we're covering our top 3 heroic moments in media.
Okay, who's first?
In the words of the Muppets, moving right along. This, like I mentioned before we started recording, I think this is like the first episode where I didn't do notes or research or anything. It was just like off the top of my head. Yeah, I think I know exactly what 3 I would go to. I don't think that they will probably hit many people's lists, but one of them will be a surprise.
That's good. My top one came to me pretty quickly, so I was like, oh, it has to be the top because that's what I think of. The rest I was like, type into Google most heroic moments ever. I don't necessarily use the results, but it gets my memory going. I'd say one of mine is it's interpreted as a heroic moment, I think, but I think it still counts.
I actually took to TikTok, and that's actually the source of today's session, only because there's one trend. I don't upload videos at all. I'm entirely just I follow.
He's a lurker.
I was going to say a TikTok lurker.
Yeah,
He lurks.
I follow 300 accounts, and I don't know why people follow me that are outside of my friends, because it's like I'm not going to upload anything. I'm sorry, but
Unless they're just using you to curate other things. Ooh, I like what he follows, so I'll just let him do the heavy lifting.
I don't even know if they can see that.
Yeah, they can't. So
Then
I
I
don't
have
know
no
what
idea.
they're. You got me. But
Could
there's
just
one
be
dude.
a follow back situation.
Could be. I mean, personal growth, I guess. Some people want to see that number go up.
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
There's one TikTok creator by the name of Cellphone.wallet.keys who has some great voiceover work. Here, check out one of his clips.
I know what you're thinking, punk. Question is, can I get Wolverine before he turns me into shish kebab with those claws? Well, bub, seeing as how these claws are adamantium, the strongest metal known, and can slice through vanadium steel like a hot knife through butter, buddy, you gotta ask yourself, do I feel lucky? Now where are the other X-Men? And you better have an answer.
And he started a trend of saying just top heroic moments, and it's every scene that's mentioned plays, and it's backed by the song Hero by Chad Kroeger featuring Josie Scott.
Wasn't that the song for Spider-Man 2?
And let me
Yes.
And let me tell you, some of those really hit home. Like, that is perfect. Some of them you could tell like people are just shouting out examples just to kind of get their name in there, because I mean, I don't have that personal attachment to some of them. Like, I mentioned the DBZ thing earlier today, saying like, you can pick whatever you want, just try to limit it to at least one per show, because some, like, there was at least 5 or 6 different ones that he did just for Dragon Ball Z that was recommended to him, and they were amazing.
I had 3
But,
for
like,
Dragon Ball Z on my list, and then when you said it, I was like, well.
But there's quite a bit. But some of them like really hit home, and it was really cool to see his examples. And this is my long form version of stitching his video, and I'll probably tag him in it. I'm sure he's probably not going to listen to any of this or what have you. And I think some of my choices were actually ended up being picked by him, but they've been always. I know Dean knows one of the movies. Actually, pretty much two of these movies. You guys definitely know. I've been a long fan of, so it won't be any surprise for me to have recommended or mentioned. Like, yeah, this is my top heroic moment right here. So, just wanted to give that quick shout out.
Yeah, my top will be like, oh yeah, for sure, and then the other two I think would be like, oh, okay.
Like I'm actually, when you mentioned it, I thought it was such kind of an odd topic to choose, but I had fun with it just because it's a little bit outside of our normal realm in terms of what's your favorite Super Nintendo games? What's your like favorite horror movies? It ends up being such a broad application of criteria that I can use for this that it's like, oh yeah, it's almost a miscellaneous category as long as something's heroic in it.
Yeah, and it lets you just think outside the box in terms of, I'm always like, sometimes I don't want to just talk about a movie. I want to talk about some of the more subtle nuances of like character development and going deeper into certain categories of what makes a character truly defined as who they are. And some of them are just as simple as and silly as, let me rephrase, some of them you can actually see the full growth and development going from like zero to hero versus others that have just kind of maintained that entire thing, and it's just like bam, like, you know, Captain America picking up Mjolnir kind of scene of like, holy shit, you know, what's always been coming. Captain America has been great pretty much since the very first time you've seen him, but then other characters not so much, and then you get to at least, you know, deep dive and really get to kind of go over that more. So
Yeah. I had something that got bumped to an honorable mention. That was originally my number 3 spot up until about 14 seconds ago. So it might be on your list, Nick. I don't know.
one of them I know is not on any of you guys' lists.
I'm pretty sure two of them aren't.
So who's gonna go first today?
I can bat first if you guys want. It's your topic, so do you want to close out the show, Dean or Nick?
Dean, actually, Dean, since it was your time last time and you wanted to go first and I kind of stole it.
Did I? Or did you?
Well, I listened to your episode at least 3 times so far and that was mentioned, so.
I'll go first. I don't think I go first often or much. I don't know. Unless Tim really wants to go first.
Yeah, I'm good wherever.
Let's not belay this any longer. Wait, I told you I had trouble and that you guys are supposed to order first. And then I'll choose my thing off the menu once I get to it. Where the hell is my note? Oh, it's hidden on my screen. I have my screen organized so I can see you guys, I can see my recording, I can see the internet, I can see my notes.
It's just all scribbled notes and scrawls. It's like the opening to Seven.
Okay, so the first heroic moment I'd like to discuss comes from a personal phobia of mine, and this person is my hero because of what he overcomes, and that is Chief Brody in the movie Jaws.
1,000%.
Chief Brody shooting that oxygen canister, oxygen in Jaws' mouth to blow him the hell up. Just censored myself.
Smile, you son of a bitch!
Blows him sky high. Smile, you son of a bitch.
I mean, I think it's great because it's not like at the end of the movie he loves the water now. It's like, no, he still hates the water. He just had a job he had to do.
Like going out there on the boat, knowing the shark is out there, deathly afraid of water. And at the end, he's sinking. He's going, he doesn't know if he's going to make it out or not. He's in the water and still has the gumption to raise his rifle and shoot at the shark that's barreling down on him.
What if he used it on himself? Starts sinking, the shark comes. You think he's going to take a shot at the shark, and then he just looks at the sky and does it.
I don't remember when I first saw this, I was a kid, and I'm 99% sure that's why I don't hate sharks. It's just like the idea of them just is terrifying to me, being in the water with one, because you're so helpless.
Well, just
Unless you
remember, if you're afraid of sharks and you see a big shark and you manage to blow it up, you might find a better way of doing so because you just chum the water, and now every shark in like a 10 square mile radius is going to be heading straight to you.
He takes out 2 rifles. Come on, you son of a
Wait,
bitches.
so that's worse. Son of a bitches or sons of bitches?
Clearly, it's son of a bitches. It's very samurai cop.
But yeah, just so obviously fear of sharks, and then just Brody's my hero because he did what I don't even know if I could do. I don't know. I can keep my composure in the water to do that. Maybe and then it's like life or death. Like the adrenaline probably takes over at that point, but you still got to keep your composure.
For years as a kid, I thought Jaws put a fear of sharks into me, and then I realized I love sharks and I'm fascinated by them. I don't like deep water that I don't know what's underneath.
What's that? Thalassophobia?
Yeah.
It was Jaws that put the fear of sharks into me, but in reality, it was me that put the it was
That put the fear of Jaws into sharks?
Sharks. Yeah.
Well, actually, to my credit, I have never seen a shark sit down to watch Jaws.
Or do you think sharks are afraid of you?
Yeah.
I mean, you know how much I love space and stuff, but like just the fathom emptiness of just such a huge world right beneath us, and when we go out to the ocean, just like in space, there's just so much you can't see anything, and obviously there's water there, but like there's nothing. But then just beyond like what you could visibly see, there could be this massive creature and stuff. It's that shit's terrifying, man. Sharks is like the least of my concerns because at least they've got the audacity to try to, eat you, but it's all the other stuff that you don't see that it's like, shit, what could be eating that shark?
There's always a bigger
Yeah.
fish.
I mean, you can get lost for hours just Googling like abyssal gigantism.
Oh, yeah. And all we found is that like massive squid,
Yeah.
like the weird spidery looking one, not like the typical giant squid.
Like it's cool to me, but also unnerving and terrifying whenever I see all of these like artist renderings types things. If you'll see like a wide shot of the water and there'll be like a ship and then you see this huge thing underneath the ship like coming up. That's what I picture every time I'm on a boat. So sharks are
anything
fine
out
by
there.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see you say that when you get in the situation. Yeah, but that moment, I think just stood out to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think Chief Brody Jaws as a whole is personally the best movie ever made.
Wow, I didn't know that.
It's my
I'm surprised you actually
Of you.
I'm surprised you actually just picked that. It's with just your standpoint on, the sea and sharks and stuff.
Well, to me, that's heroic because it scares me.
Oh, so what Dean is saying is the true hero is him. He overlooked his fear of water and sharks to pick Chief Brody as his number 3. Which makes Dean my number 3.
And they say that a Spider-Man can save us. Isn't that the lyric?
Now I just want to hear Chad Kroger sing "Smile, You Son of a Bitch." So yes, Chief Brody. Terrific, Dean.
And they say that the Jaws will try to kill us unless we shoot a tank in its mouth. Check out my SoundCloud. Somebody should.
So my number 3. I know you specifically said don't put everything from Dragon Ball Z. But my number 3 is going to be TN tri-beaming Cell in Cell Saga in Dragon Ball Z. Which, if you guys haven't seen it, TN is the guy with 3 eyes. Cell was the green dude going around sucking up people to kind of evolve into his perfect form.
Oh, Cell's got like a big tentacle head, right?
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
Like big ear things or whatever.
So when he was transforming, he's had to like capture all the androids to kind of accelerate and evolve into the next form. He's like midway to his kind of like the final form and whatnot. And Tien, in the grand scheme of things, is not really a power player for the Z Fighters. But he shows up and he has like this new attack that he does of this like Neo Tri-Beam. And he just keeps blasting him after he catches him off guard. And because he just keeps doing it, he's pounding him further into the ground, so he can't get composure to come back after him. But he can't really do anything beyond just being an annoyance to him. So he's like,
I might just be a pothole in the road to you, big guy, but it's going to be one heck of a deep pothole. Take this, you! Tri-beam!
and just keeps blasting him until eventually he just like fizzles out and passes out. I just thought it was always fun for a show that ends up putting so much on. Here's these like the major players and look how amazingly strong they are and how much they left all these other guys in the dust early on. To have one of those early on characters come back and actually kind of prove useful for a while again.
What happens to him in this scene? After he fizzles.
He eventually finally like gives out, but luckily Goku shows up in time to like teleport him away before he gets straight murdered. Because that was going to be the next thing. Been.
Gotcha.
So it's a
Third Eye Tien.
It's a great scene. Tien's a terrific character. And I know you guys aren't DBZ people, but everybody out there that's Dragon Ball Z fans.
I know. I talked to lots of people who are, and I'm sure they would be sounding off to you on that.
I mean, this was going to be a three-way tie ultimately, but Tien's probably my favorite, just because it was either going to be that and like Gohan's one-armed Kamehameha at the end of Cell Games when his like the ghost of his father shows up to help him after like he just gets one arm destroyed.
I can totally hear the hero song playing to that.
Yeah. It's because like the build up of the entire series of DBZ of Gohan as like a kid, and then eventually it ends up turning from Goku to Gohan turns out to be the strongest one to go fight Perfect Cell after Goku dies.
Spoilers.
I've always wanted to watch it. But god damn, there's just so much ground to cover.
Well, so you can watch DBZ Kai, which later on they did I still love the original just for the fact that there's some different music, some different things to it. But DBZ Kai, they went back and after everybody had a long enough time with Dragon Ball Z, they redid it as like a shortened version. So anything that's fluff, filler, anything like that, they pretty much cut from it. They trimmed things down. They updated the artwork. They redubbed everything, did the new music. So it's like, I don't know what how much they saved. I think it was something like 300 episodes down to like 240 or something like that. But it's just kind of like a leaner, meaner Dragon Ball Z if you don't have the time for it. But I love it. It was a great show.
That started in the 80s in Japan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've probably covered it before. When that come to America in the 80s?
I want to say early 90s, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I know I had a lot of friends at school that were watching DBZ.
Yeah.
In high school, middle school.
Not even earlier than that, middle school and even elementary.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, I don't know where they were watching it from. Like, I would have watched it if I ever caught it on TV, but I never did.
I know it used to be on Cartoon Network growing up. They used to play it on, I think it was like UPN or something super early in the morning, but we usually watched it because they would have Toonami on Cartoon Network. That was like the 3:30 to 7 o'clock block of just like all anime kind of stuff. And they used to do Dragon Ball Z at I think like 4:30 or something like that, or 4 o'clock. Because I remember we found it during the Cell Games when Cell holds the tournament of everyone come fight me, because I can't lose. And that's what kind of brought me into the series.
I want to. They should do the Olympics like that. Like, just find the best athlete generally, and just have them, all the athletes descend upon them. Beat me.
Just walk away.
No one has to die. Just walk away.
Sir, this is bobsled. No one has to die.
I mean, it's pretty dangerous. Tips over.
It's like the speed luge.
I've seen cool runnings.
The
Yeah,
one
or
where
the
it's
skeleton.
like, yeah, essentially you just attach 4 wheels and go head first down into the ice. Give me sharks, please. So, yeah.
Shark luge.
My number 3 is Tien's Tri-Beam on Cell and sneaking in the Gohan one-armed Kamehameha.
I'll allow it. Like I said, watching that guy's playlist of all the different moments, there was a ton of anime ones, and DB's, I think out of the list of maybe up to 15 or so different ones for anime alone, I think at least half of them were DBZ,
Oh, yeah.
and then it's like a mix of just everything else. And just watching it, even purely out of context, like you get those like chills of like, holy shit, that's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, there's just
And you
so
can just
much.
kind of figure out, yeah, just from the context alone of like, you know, he's literally about to die, and then someone else comes in and rescues him, and just the way that the camera work and the way that everything else pans out for that action scene is so amazing.
Yeah. So, Nick, you're number 3.
When the sequel recently came out, I kind of discovered that not a lot of people liked the original one, and I never understood why, because when that came out, it was a pretty big deal. And the entire movie is what set kind of the precedent for like summer blockbuster, because it was huge, it was amazing, all-star cast. And then come the end of the movie, when the aliens are about to pretty much wipe out the last stronghold that the pretty much Earth has to fight from, they discover the weakness of the ship. And the only way to do it is to shoot it with a missile, and with all of our F-18 fighters going into this massive dogfight over Area 51, where the massive alien ship is slowly coming to destroy its target. Our no one, Zero, Russell, Randy Quaid, is flying his fighter jet, tries to shoot his missile, and realizes that with him being the only ship to have a missile left in the entire fleet, the only choice he has left is to just kamikaze his way into the alien ship with that remaining missile to take down its primary weapon. And I loved that scene from Independence Day.
Do me a favor. Tell my children I love them very much. All right, you alien assholes. In the words of my generation, up yours!
Dad, what's he doing?
Come on, baby. Come on, baby, come on.
Good luck, buddy.
Hello, boys! I'm back!
It's the single best scene in the entire film.
Well, besides Welcome to Earth.
Well,
Hello, boys.
I'm back.
Back.
Then
Well,
it does a wide shot, and it just, you see a little explosion. Alien subtitles
Yeah,
at the
man.
bottom. What was that? I don't know.
He was too late, and the shields came back on at that point.
it's a mosquito.
They
in
tractor
there.
beam him in, and they're like, you're back.
I remember probing this guy. They liked it. Yeah. Well, Nick, you stole one off my list.
Did I? That's our,
That's,
that's our
is that the,
rule of thirds
yeah, I was
first.
going to say, is that the first time this has ever happened?
You stole my number 2.
We can share it.
I'll have to just I'll have to pull up a.
Dean, do you want to take one of my Dragon Ball Z ones? I have another one.
Yeah. I'll take the one where Goku does the thing.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Independence Day. What did you say that? Yeah, I didn't see the sequel.
Said America.
I heard it was like meh.
It was very meh.
I let the wind get taken out of my sails a lot with some of these movies. I'm like, oh, I heard it's not good. I guess I won't watch it for years.
It had a lot of cool moments, and it was really nice to revisit a lot of certain things, but it just kind of leaned too hard in certain directions when it shouldn't have, and it kind of took a lot of the spirit out that the first one had, and it really just kind of fell flat. And they left it open for a third movie, but because of how bad it bombed, they're definitely not going to make a third one. Because it was almost like Super Mario Brothers ending, where Daisy comes back and she's like, y'all gotta help me, and he's like, all right, let's do this, and they grab their tool belts. It pretty much ends almost exactly like that.
They all put on tool belts. What are you doing? Get in the ship. Oh, okay.
If they could bring Will Smith back somehow.
CGI.
Young Will Smith, just like that movie they did with him. Poor Randy Quaid. I wish he could be in stuff still, but that's his legacy. I think that movie and that moment, it's pretty bad.
Not Christmas Vacation.
Between that,
to be remembered.
Yeah, and Uncle Eddie.
True.
I mean, of the two, I would personally prefer Independence Day as his memory.
He had a really good character arc. I really enjoyed, in hindsight, and even watching the special edition with the extended scenes put in, there's a lot more involving his son that's like terminally ill and he has to have medicine and stuff. It's not just like, oh, he got like really bad car sickness on the way to Area 51. Like, no, the kid is really hurting, and without the medicine, he kind of goes into like, I don't know, it almost looked like insulin, and he was going through a like diabetic shock or something, but I don't know. They don't describe it whatsoever. It's just he needs medicine or else he'll get sick. And you could see him going from drunk to realizing he needs to take responsibility for his kids. He tries to sober up, and he, just takes point. A lot of respect for that. And in such a weird ass movie to do it in, you know?
Well, plus,
like, aliens are attacking. Let's have a drunk turn hero.
Well, plus I know like a lot of times all of that stuff's played for laughs of like, oh, they got abducted by aliens. But I guess if you really stop and think about it, that has to be terrifying should something like that ever happen. Like, yeah, you're going to come back pretty messed up.
The thing that gets me too is they kept making fun of him through the whole movie after we realized like this shit's real.
Yeah, these aliens are real, but
crazy old Russell.
Did they do anything, sexual?
Sexual.
Like, no, they're just coming here to blow us up. I don't know what they were doing to you.
Yeah, like it is a good arc, a good self-sacrifice. And like, yeah, you guys aren't going to make fun of me anymore, huh? You son of a bitch. Son of a bitches.
What if those were his dying words instead of the hello boys?
So, do you know of the alternate ending to the movie? 100% legit. So, in the current movie, when they're recruiting at Area 51, like, we need pilots for the next offensive that we're going to do. He stands up, still drunk. He's like, I can fly. I'm a pilot. And begrudgingly, the colonel, commander guy, lieutenant, he looks at him. He's like, all right, come on. In the alternate cut, he says no.
Sorry, sir.
Wait a minute, you don't understand. I gotta be a part of this. This is important to me. These guys, they ruined my life.
Why don't you just go sleep that off, sir?
But I can fly. You want people that can fly? I can fly. One thing I can do.
So then, just as the whole rest of the movie plays out normally, the president goes to shoot the missile, he misses, and then he's like, wait, we have no missiles left. Wait a minute, who's that? Cut to Randy Quaid in his biplane.
Fly away as you can.
Doesn't anyone have any missiles left? Sorry I'm late, Mr. President! What the hell are you doing? It's okay, sir! I'm packing!
And he's got an actual missile strapped to the side of the plane, and he's like, "Don't worry, sir, I got this." And then the rest of the movie plays out exactly as it did. And test audiences apparently were like, "I don't believe this." So they reshot it so that he actually was invited into the squadron instead.
Yeah.
And there's actual footage of this too. It's not even a concept that maybe it'll no, they actually shot it.
Yeah, otherwise that would be a little, like a Slim Pickens riding the bomb at the end of Doctor Strangelove.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, the whole movie pans out perfectly well, and then at the very end, it just completely loses it.
They should just had. He goes right up. They think he's going to destroy it, and then ends up he lands inside the ship, and they're like, "Welcome back, sir." And they put his, crown on. He sits on the throne. Commence the attack.
I hope they bring back Elvis.
If we're doing all this multiverse...
Imagine that's their first thing. We plan to bring back... We know how much you miss Elvis.
We're bringing back Elvis, but we're taking New York. Okay, hear him out.
He plays the opening night of the Aliens invasion. It's Elvis.
We're kind of mixed about this,
Let the aliens
but...
do what they want. They'll give you a probe, but it's really fun.
So that Independence Day. I think you guys are picking character arcs that prove heroism, and I'm just picking specific moments that I'm like, oh, it'd be cool.
Well, no.
I think it's just a coincidence.
Coincidence. I mean, I would have saved that comment for the second one. So, Dean, have we padded enough time yet for your number 2?
I'll choose. I'll give you a hint. I don't know if you can hear this. Discord might cancel it, but let me know if you can hear this.
Oh God, is it gonna be like the Wonder Woman scene where oh, no man could survive that, and she's like, "I'm no man," and then she walks through the battlefield while getting shot?
I guess you can't hear it because I just played it, so scratch that. Discord really does cut out anything that's not talking. So
it did it really well because I didn't.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't know if this
so
was a bit.
weird. I can't believe it. I literally held my phone up and played a song, and Discord's like, "Nope, that's not people talking."
I was gonna say it immediately just sends you a copyright infringement notice. We heard and stopped what you were trying to do.
It's like the cursing thing from Demolition Man, but it's a copyright infringement every time.
You are fined 1 credit for a violation of...
Well, in your head, play the beginning to "Can't Heat" by Jamiroquai.
I have to Google that.
That's okay.
They were heroic for the fact that they were ahead of their time, and space funk was not accepted in the 90s. And his taste in hats, pure heroics.
And that video.
Yeah.
For that other song.
Virtual Insanity?
Virtual Insanity, classic. But no, I'm not talking about the band. I am talking about what this awkward teen friend did to get his Mexican friend elected.
He built him
in
a
the
cake?
school election.
I have never seen
Napoleon Dynamite dances. Puts his... I don't even know if he has a fear of he's just an awkward kid, and he probably wouldn't have done this if he hadn't made friends and wanted to help Pedro win the school election. Napoleon Dynamite gets on stage and does the best dance routine you'll ever see in a movie.
It's true.
For the talent portion,
which
I don't know how is related to it just somehow that's allowed to be Pedro's talent portion is Napoleon dancing, but Napoleon dances to Jamiroquai's Canned Heat. And it's one of the most surprising, and I say it's heroic because I think he was an awkward kid, and it's like he never would have gotten in front of the whole school and done something like this.
So he's really putting himself out there to help a friend.
He puts himself out there. Courage to be yourself, I guess you could say, which I would consider heroic. Because he does it for somebody else. It's not just like he's...
Yeah, it's not like, look at me.
Trying to be cool. He's like, look at me, but vote for my friend. Like, that's why I'm doing this. So... I was going to say Russell in Independence Day. That was going to be my second one, but just in the interest of talking about something different, this was on my short list. I was like, that's an offbeat choice, but so that's why I was going to go with Russell initially.
I like that. No, I like that. The dance is so iconic. Out of all the dances you could possibly think of, this made the cut in World of Warcraft as one of the playable.
I was going to say, isn't it a WoW dance? Or rather vice versa?
Yeah. It's the Blood Elf male dance.
Oh, where they put it into WoW?
Yeah. Every race and both genders have a specific dance unique to them. Like if you played an orc male, you would do the MC Hammer dance. Or male human is Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah.
And then Blood Elf male is that one.
Napoleon Dynamite, it's weird it's one of those things that's weird for me to recommend if you haven't seen it, because it was such a cultural phenomenon. I think I don't even think it was pretty popular. I wouldn't say it's like a sleeper thing, but like I think like all young people saw that movie, and I fell in love with it. I couldn't wait to see it. It wasn't even out, and I just saw the trailer and I was like, this speaks to me.
It's absolutely an offbeat comedy, and I remember the first time watching it, I don't know what am I supposed to laugh? Is it supposed to be awkward? And there are so many great moments through that entire thing that in hindsight, yes, that is definitely one of my favorite movies without even realizing it, because there's so many scenes. Even a movie has a lasting impression on you when you could still quote it years and years later, and not ironically either. Just when you mentioned the whole like vote for Pedro, I'm just thinking like,
do the chickens have large talons?
Do they have what?
Large talons.
I don't understand a word you just said.
You know. And
that movie is just like great scene after great scene.
And I like my favorite one is because he's like, you know, first generation Mexican, and he falls in love with that girl, and he's, Pedro, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna build her a cake. And just the way that he's like build instead of, you know, bake her, it was just so offbeat. Like, what? And even the way how they first meet, and he's like, whoa, you got that amazing like sweet pegs on your bike. You ever taken off any sweet jumps? It's like this like 1 foot tall little like thing that they prop up with like a milk crate.
Yeah, it's a board on a crate.
Now,
Napoleon's mind is blown.
Totally eats
Never seeing that movie, do you guys feel it is something that's like big for nostalgia for you guys, or is it, if I were to watch it today, I would probably end up enjoying it?
I think you would enjoy it.
If you think so, I'm not saying you wouldn't enjoy it, but Tim, you're such a wild card in your taste to me. You're an enigma to me. I don't know what you're going to like.
I have both.
Sometimes I'm surprised if you like something. Sometimes I'm surprised if you don't like something.
I have both too much
taste
know what to tell and
you.
No taste.
This is a movie. There's not a real plot. It's just, here's these characters in this. It seems like takes place in 1994, but I think it was meant to be modern for like the year it came out, which was like 2003 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just a great assortment of characters, a great debut by the filmmaker, Jared Hess. I don't think he reached this. I don't think he topped his first movie.
Because did he do Nacho Libre?
He did do Nacho Libre.
Who? Maybe you have seen me on TV. Nacho!
And then for some reason I thought...
I enjoyed Nacho Libre, but I think Napoleon still stands out as the best movie he's done. It's very slice of life, although it's just slice of quirky life. It's like indie as fuck. It's like not irreverent, but
I mean, it was really...
It's like almost like indie for the sake of being indie, but very quirky and strange.
Yeah.
But it works. It's very goofy, but very funny.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like all those style of movies where the story itself isn't necessarily the driving factor. It's let's create some interesting characters, drop them into a world, and then just let them kind of interact with each other.
Yeah, the whole like vote for Pedro and Pedro going for class president is the main story, I guess you can say, through the movie, but it's not really front and center through most of it.
Yeah.
I think you can tell Jared grew up watching Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
Like, it's not exactly Wes Anderson style, but it's very...
It's almost like Wes Anderson
understated.
Like Taika Waititi. Almost.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, they would have been coming up around the same time, but...
And especially with a lot of comedies around that point in time, it's surprisingly clean. It's very... I don't want to say wholesome, but it's there's no...
I think
there's no, like, raunch to it.
Yeah.
I think the director is, like, Mormon, so I think... Or was a Mormon, or, like, it's something like he's got some kind of religion, so I think that's why it doesn't get raunchy. It's not like it's not a teen comedy, even though it is a teen comedy, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I mean, I think it's worth it alone, Tim, for... I couldn't see you not liking John Grease. He's in this movie.
I hear he's a great arm.
The werewolf from... Yeah. His character and interaction with Napoleon is great. As is Diedrich Bader of Drew Carey Show fame.
Oh, I didn't even know he was in that.
He's in this. He has a great small role in this too. It's like it's not many scenes, but he's great. I think you should watch it. Like, there's jokes you've probably heard, or just because it was so pervasive.
There's a few regular show takes a few references from this.
Really?
Yeah. And you can definitely tell after watching it, like, you can see where they got the idea from. It's not a direct reference, but you could see, like, the breadcrumb trail of, hey, this is really cool, and they kind of built off of that and turned it into something else.
The casting is great. I love just the characters that aren't front and center, like just the people that are very ancillary, feel very real and like non-actors. But not that they're bad at acting, but they just feel like we need some really rough, weird-looking farmers. Like, that was the casting call. It just you would understand when you watched it, but yeah, I should go back and watch that again. And Tim, you should check it out.
What?
I wouldn't hate you for not liking it, but I would understand. But I think you might.
Do you feel that you need to refresh yourself on it, Dean?
I don't know. Is that too late? That's like I was 17.
Dean, we're our own bosses. We can do what we want.
God damn.
16 or 17 when that came out. That could be one someday. Yeah.
I was but a young boy. Full of life.
You were 13.
So yeah, good pick.
But yeah, Napoleon Dynamite dancing to get Pedro voted class president, I think it was class president.
Yeah.
So is that then my number 2? I've already lost track.
Number 2.
So, my number 2. Originally, I didn't have a comic book thing on here until you mentioned that as a joke, Nick. And then I was like, oh, I almost forgot that I was going to add this on. I think around 1985, don't quote me on it, there was a mini-series going on, this whole summer blockbuster in comics for DC called Crisis on Infinite Earths, of this character, the Anti-Monitor, showing up and kind of like pulling in all these different parallel worlds in DC and destroying them. So all of these various incarnations of all these heroes and planets and universes that they've created over time. They were pulling all of them in and then just slowly getting rid of them as part of this whole big storyline. Early on in this whole storyline, Anti-Monitor captures Flash, which at the time was Barry Allen, and has him kind of over on his ship or planet. I forget what the case was. So in Crisis on Infinite Earths issue 8, we have the Flash finally is able to break free, and he finds out that they have this like antimatter cannon that's being created that is going to be used to eliminate the remaining planets, or rather eliminate the remaining like worlds or multiverses or whatever the case is. So after he escapes, he ends up kind of running at as fast as he can around this thing to, I guess, like reverse the polarity of the antimatter energy and causes the whole thing to self-destruct and kind of stop this whole situation for them. But in the mix, naturally, the speed he has to go to do this and all the energy that's going on with this, Barry Allen dies. They end up just finding like his costume and like his secret costume ring and whatnot. But it always kind of stuck with me, this, because I grew up watching like Justice League. I grew up like with all of the cartoons and the comics, and I loved the Flash. But a majority of me growing up, it was always Wally West as the Flash, because after Barry Allen dies here, he's not brought back into the fold in DC Comics until like much later, and I think like the mid to late 2000s in Flash Rebirth. So for most of my life, I never knew about Barry Allen. And then once he came back, he's my favorite character in DC. But I just thought it was super cool, the idea of him both doing this, and then throughout the whole miniseries, we have people seeing like glimpses of the Flash, or like he'll pop up somewhere and give like a message, or he'll like pop up and say like something to somebody. And then we kind of realize it in issue 8. It's because as he's running so fast, he's like dipping in and out of time as he's going. So he's just kind of like appearing in all of these spots, like in the past and in the future and everything, and giving these messages as he's dying, as he's trying to stop this machine.
What a G.
What a G.
So he was going forward and backward in time.
Yeah.
Just like all over the place.
And that's kind of what they're going to pull inspiration from for the upcoming Flash movie, right?
So in the upcoming Flash movie, to my knowledge, they're going to be pulling from Flashpoint. I haven't really been following it, so I don't know if that is still the case. But Flashpoint was this whole thing of Barry Allen as a child. His mother is killed, and then that's why he goes into like forensics, and he goes into the police, and he's trying to like find out everything that happened. So in Flashpoint, he finally decides he's fast enough, he's going to run so he can go back in time, and he's going to stop like his mother from getting murdered. But when he does that, it ends up creating this butterfly effect. Then when he ends up back in the current day, it's no longer the world that he was in. Now it's like, oh, yeah, Bruce Wayne died as a child, and his father, in his grief, decided to like dress up as Batman and go out with 2 guns and become a vigilante. And his mother went crazy and she became the Joker. And like Superman didn't land in Kansas. Superman landed somewhere where the government found him, and they like put him in a bunker underground, so he's like emaciated and used as like a test subject. So it's like all of these horrible things. And then to correct it, he has to essentially, which is also kind of a really, it might double as another heroic moment, but it's rough. In order to try to fix the world and everything that happened, he has to go back in time and stop himself from saving his mother. Because if his mother dies, that's what lets this whole thing happen and play out the way that it did.
So there's this scene. Does he talk to himself and saying like, "You can't do this"?
I don't remember. I mean, I've read Flashpoint, and I think, I don't know, like 2010, 2009 or something like that. But yeah, like it.
Did you show me that curious one?
Maybe.
No, I think, you know what? I think it was Crisis on Infinite Earth.
Probably Crisis on
Because
Infinite
it did have some. It did have the Flash going through time doing stuff like that.
Yeah. Because then I know everybody kind of had mixed feelings on it, but then the whole thing with Flashpoint is he corrected it and he thinks everything's back to normal and he goes back to current day and things are mostly normal, but that what ends up kicking off the New 52, which was a whole like multi-year long thing of them like rebooting a lot of the universes and starting from square one on a lot of them, and that got mixed reviews but it was for like, I don't know, 5-6 years in DC Comics. So yeah, Crisis on Infinite Earths, issue 8, Barry Allen dying to save the world.
Did they bring back when did that issue come out?
I think like 1985.
85. So you just missed it. Well, I guess you weren't reading until
yeah, I wasn't reading until after I was born.
I mean, even then. Sorry, my question was like Barry Allen. They're just like, we're just gonna start writing Barry Allen again because we want to. They just kind of reset
I think it was Jeff Johns who did Flash Rebirth, because I think he was a big Barry Allen fan. So when he started getting more clout with DC, it was, I have a plan, I want to write this story, and it was bringing Barry Allen back. And they kind of explain it that he went so fast, it wasn't that he died, it was his body just like dissipated into energy, and he ended up like lost in the Speed Force. And then he kind of materializes and ends up back in Rebirth. So it's this whole thing. But love the character of Barry Allen. He's terrific. I didn't love the show The Flash. It was okay, but CW stuff kind of breaks down after
Mark
a while.
Hamill's in that, though, isn't he?
I think so. I think he plays Trickster.
Yeah.
Which is funny, because I think in the 90s live-action Flash show, I think he played Trickster.
He did. That's the extent of my knowledge about that.
The end. I will not talk about Flash now.
Just to put a weird button on the end of that.
No, just the like with Mark Hamill's appearance on the show.
Yeah. Well, I know the CW show The Flash did have a lot of fun little Easter eggs and references and things like that. Like the person who plays his father on the show is the one who played Barry Allen in the 90s live action show and all that kind of stuff. So like I do appreciate it. It's just,
that is cool.
It's my big problem with a lot of CW shows. I feel like the longer they go on, they start to devolve only into like a lot of
CW
yeah,
shows.
they devolve into CW shows where it's more love triangles and relationship stuff, and then they start getting to all weird, like convoluted for even comics as their source material stuff.
Side note, a couple weeks ago I finished season 3 of Titans. And moving on.
How did it compare? How did Flash compare to Green Arrow?
I actually think I liked Green Arrow more, just because, I mean, it's the issue with the Flash overall. I love the Flash. He's probably my favorite superhero, but he's too OP, because if you have somebody who moves that fast, where it's like he can move through time, he can like vibrate his molecules to just move through objects and whatnot, then how are you ever supposed to have anybody reasonably cause a problem for him? So in the show The Flash, it's like there always has to be some dumb reason on why he can't like super speed his way out of this. Or how most of the episodes ended with like, I'm running as fast as I can. Well, you got to run faster, Barry. I will. And then he runs faster, and it's like, oh, surprise, you did it. Like it's
achieved the next
yeah,
level.
like they always have to have some reason on why his super speed can't like take care of the problem. Because otherwise it would be, somebody's in the bank and they're holding hostages. That's terrific. You can literally move fast enough to like that they're standing still. You walk in, you literally pick them up, you carry them 5 countries over, and you drop them off in some like jail out in the Atlantic, like whatever the case may be. But for some reason, it's like, oh, but it's a Tuesday, and the way the moon is, that affects the speed force. So I can only run at 60 miles an hour today.
Do they ever explain like why he doesn't burn to a crisp when he moves that fast?
I imagine that's just part of his kind of superpower.
Yeah, so I don't remember if the original Flash stuff had to do with his costume, but I think they eventually explained it as while he's moving, his body creates some sort of like, essentially like a barrier around his skin to not absorb whatever it is.
No friction.
Yeah.
The friction is gone.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious. I mean, I'm not saying it's like dumb. I'm just like, what do they say?
They kind of hand wave a lot of stuff away with the concept of the speed force, like this unknown type of energy from this other realm that all speedsters tap into.
Say, may the speed force be with you. It's like, don't say
and
that.
Also with you. Was I raised Catholic? I don't know. So that's my number 2. Crisis on Infinite Earths, issue 8.
Job.
Barry Allen.
Good job, Barry.
Very nice. Very nice.
Pour one out for Barry.
And then pour it right back in because he came back to life.
So my number 2 is finally a subject I'll get to talk about briefly. Yep. So there are many television shows being released for Star Wars, and this one happens to land when the Rebels TV show was currently a thing. Now, the Clone Wars was a pretty big deal. It kind of evolved from being a show meant for kids to growing more and more mature themes. And just kind of, you know what the end result is eventually going to get you. You know, Anakin's eventual fall, the Empire taking over the Republic, having to deal with all of these clones, and they're creating a bunch of loose ends that you know will have to be finished within time. And one of those loose ends was Ahsoka Tano. She became, she was a new character introduced in the Clone Wars, and over the course of pretty much her existence, she's becoming more and more of a fan favorite. So that once Rebels took place, which is, I want to say at least like 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. So a lot of time has passed since we last saw her as like a younger child. During Rebels, it's already during the height of the Empire, and a little group of freedom fighters are pretty much starting the rebellion, and it follows them. And the entire time, they have some contacts with Ahsoka, and as the viewer, we know who she is, but these characters don't. And the entire time, sorry, there's just a lot of build up to this moment, but just Ahsoka is a pretty big deal. She's just recently on The Mandalorian, and now she was also in Book of Boba Fett. So the fact that she's in these, and now she's getting her own live action movie, it's a pretty big deal. So the main characters of the Rebel show, long story short, they come across an ancient Jedi Sith temple that has even like references and Easter eggs to the Old Republic games. But there's a holocron that they need to get, but Darth Vader is also aware of this, and Vader ends up intercepting them, and they're in like the middle of nowhere, so Vader specifically hunted them out. Just as he's about to like grab the main character Ezra, just as he's about to grab the holocron, Vader shows up in his TIE fighter.
You have unlocked the secret of the temple. How did you accomplish this?
You're smart. Figure it out.
He ends up starting to duel the kid, and it leads to one of the really cool lines like,
"No matter, the power within will soon serve the Emperor."
I don't fear you.
And then Vader, just being the badass he is, he's like,
"Then you will die braver than most."
And Vader is just toying with this kid the entire time that they're trying to fight. And one of Vader's biggest tells is if he's fighting you with one arm and he's not using both of them, he's 100% toying with you, and he doesn't expect you to win in the slightest bit. So he quickly disarms Ezra, and just as he's about to give the final strike, Ahsoka shows up.
Perhaps I was wrong.
It wouldn't be the first time.
And this is my heroic moment, is when she fights Vader for the first time since... This is the first time that they've seen each other since the Clone Wars, so a long time has passed. She was thought to be dead by him, but she knew this whole time that Vader is in existence. But she didn't see the turn and downfall of Anakin becoming Vader, so she had no idea. And this meeting was pretty much what finally proved to her that
Anakin Skywalker was weak. I destroyed him.
Then I will avenge his death.
And then she's, when she says that to Vader, he kind of just turns to her, who is also voiced by James Earl Jones, which is really cool. Nice touch they did.
Revenge is not the Jedi way.
And with the way that she left the Jedi Order, she was able to just counter with,
I am no Jedi.
Because the end of her Clone Wars arc, pretty much they excommunicated her from the Jedi Temple and the Jedi Order because of a lot of bullshit story. But it was kind of looking at it from a meta perspective, they had to take Ahsoka out of the picture somehow, and this was the only way to really do it, I guess. But because she was excommunicated, she wasn't considered a Jedi, so just that whole exchange of them leading up to the fight and then finally going into the battle, and you see him hunt, like, we always see Vader moving slowly and always toying with his opponents and never having to move fast, and you could tell he has to put in like 200% in order to keep up with her. And it was a really an emotional fight too, just watching the two go back and forth, trying to, she's not trying to really kill him, and then it gets to the point where it's just, she's pretty much fighting to save her life because he's, fully fallen over and there's no rescuing him. But just the way that she shows up out of nowhere, because you're not expecting her, of all people, to show up at that point in time. She's in the story, but she wasn't part of that mission. She had no reason to be there.
Oh.
So the fact that she shows up, it's like, holy shit.
So
okay.
It wasn't like, they all went there together and then she was off doing something else on them. It was literally like,
yeah,
she's in this series. You don't know where she is right now. That's cool.
Yeah. And the whole time, too, as she's in the series, she only shows up when she's needed, and she has her own thing going on. So every time she comes in, she kind of saves the day, but because she is local and nearby, so the fact that they're doing this mission off the record, and they're not really supposed to be doing that, she has no knowledge of them doing this, and it's not official, like, Rebel Alliance business. That's why her showing up is just completely like surprising. It's like, holy shit, this is really amazing. And the lightsaber fight too is really well done.
I go back and watch those shows.
Yeah,
there's a lot.
I remember when Rebels started, I think I was watching it with you and then I trailed off on it.
Yeah, Rebels you do have to watch from start to finish. There's not that many episodes that you can kind of skip because it is more of a cohesive story, and everything does lead one into another. But the Clone Wars is not. It does have an overall arcing story where the more you watch it, you kind of grow attached to certain characters, but they set up the show to be in like 3-episode story arc snippets. So if I were to tell you to just watch the holocron heist at the end of season 1, that introduces Cad Bane.
I want to know who shall take on this very dangerous task.
That would be me. Cad Bane at your service. I'll take on any job for the right price.
And you don't really need any other outside reference to watch it and appreciate what it is. You can just watch it and like, all right, I get it. As long as you've seen the mainline Star Wars movies, that's all you really need. You don't need to read comics. You don't have to, play video games to understand what's going on. I know who Padme is. She's in love with Anakin. They get interrupted in one of their own like secret meetings. He doesn't have his lightsaber. Meanwhile, Cad Bane is infiltrating the Jedi Temple. He steals a holocron and captures all the senators. Like, holy shit, it's a really cool story.
And then, so Bad Batch falls after Clone Wars, after Rebels, or after Clone Wars, before Rebels?
Before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that their first episode takes place during during Order 66 when they kill all the Jedi. That show was okay.
The Nick OK seal of approval. Of okayness. Seal of okay.
Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme, every stanza kind of rhymes with the last one. Hopefully it'll work.
Rebels I really liked a lot. Rebels I really enjoyed. The Clone Wars has its... When it hits really well. When it misses, it definitely swings and a miss. But
so Clone Wars 3D, or was... Which one was...
Yeah.
There was
one by
2D show?
Genndy... Yeah, there's one by Genndy
Tartakovsky.
He did Samurai Jack. He did the 5 minute.
Right.
He did the 5 minute Clone Wars cartoons, and there was like maybe 5 or 10 of them. I don't remember. There's not a lot, but they're all really short. You could knock it out in like half an hour for the whole season.
Oh.
And that's what kind of started the concept of what if we do a full Clone Wars TV show, and that's what it eventually evolved from.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I have to go back and check it out. Just because I love her as a character. I think it's mainly because like I always loved her white lightsabers, so I'll have to check it out. I think
it was cool.
My Star Wars interest right now is just reading the High Republic series.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The comic series? Do you not like it?
How is it? No,
I like it. It's fun.
I read... When The Force Awakens came out, I was really excited to start reading all of the new canon. And then when I quickly realized after reading like 5 or 6 books that the new canon means absolutely nothing and Disney doesn't give a shit anymore, that's when I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'll read up on the High Republic when they tie those loose ends into other things so that it kind of blends together. Because it's like... like them trying to retcon and explain why certain things happened in the future movies by kind of squeezing it into the stuff early on. That kind of thing. So when I start to see High Republic stuff start to kind of blend its way into modern Star Wars, then I'll probably check it out. But like until then, like the Captain Phasma book that they released, I was fucking hyped for Phasma before The Last Jedi came out. And that book was basically like Mad Max meets it's been a while since I'd read it, but like it had a Mad Max kind of based storyline of just like wilderness tribe that just like have to escort this Imperial guy across the desert, and a lot of badass things happen. You see how cool of a character she is, and then they just completely throw that amazing book right out the window and show her how she dies in The Last Jedi. Like it's so anticlimactic. It's really depressing. The Aftermath trilogy was another big one that I liked, and they pretty much ignored a lot of it.
Yeah. I think I can appreciate High Republic myself specifically because I don't have as much of a frame of reference for a lot of the old canon for like the books and the extended universe or anything like that. So coming into this, it's like High Republic, it's all new to me, so
yeah. And I know that's probably why they ended up going with that time frame instead of going Old Republic. Old Republic's already been written about. Everyone knows what's happening around that time frame. So let's fast forward to go to a time slot where nothing's happened, and they can keep Yoda and bring people in. So I mean, I get it. I get some of their decisions, but it's still just like, I don't know. After reading some of the books and just with how they don't really make reference to or do much more else with them, it's just kind of disappointing.
Yeah. So I will go back and I will watch Clone Wars and Rebels.
I am tonight. As soon as we're done recording, I'm not going to sleep.
We'll do a Screen Refresh TV show episodes where it'll be a mini series of 21-minute episodes as we cover the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels.
How many other... So, I mean, we got me watching Cowboy Bebop. Are there any other ancillary sagas?
I think David from Screaming Brain, we had a plan at one point to do Screen Refresh Goes Berserk as we cover each episode of the original Berserk anime and compare it to the manga. Mm-hmm. With our infinite time.
I would actually want to participate in that. So like how Dean hasn't seen Cowboy Bebop, let me be the one to not have seen Berserk, because I haven't.
It's good.
And we can both be. I can be Dean, you can be Nick. We both haven't seen it.
Can I be Dean and you be Nick?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Perfect.
So yeah,
I don't have a good degrading jab I can say right now, but I wish I had one.
I'll just record it later and I'll insert it here.
So let us know, listeners. Do you want to see a Berserk or Cowboy Bebop show?
I mean, if any listener at all writes into us, I'll be
literally
happy, so
any listener.
Just say hi. Just say hello. We had this one guy that wrote. Where did he write on Instagram? He's like, "I love you guys." There was a Facebook.
Oh yeah, John. John's great.
John. Thanks, John.
Little shout out to John.
We need more of that.
It's just nice to see sometimes that you're not like we have fun doing this, but it's not like going off
talking into the void.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, so
Yeah.
people do see this, people enjoy it. I know there's plenty of podcasts I listen to that I'm like, yeah, this is awesome, but I don't necessarily reach out. I don't send an email necessarily, so I do the same thing.
A lot of the ones that I listen to also,
should.
they already have kind of like a fan base going on anyway. So, hearing whatever episode they're covering and talking about, like, oh, it's like, let us know about this, and I'll check out their Facebook, and they already have like 200 posts of people talking about it. Like, oh, okay, well, they don't. At this point, I'm just shouting into the wind, trying to hear, trying to let them.
It's like
hear
the
me.
Instagram shunting. You're just everybody's fusing into the pile. We all.
That's why you
love
gotta
this.
set a timer, set a notification, listen to the episode at like 2 times speed, and then just immediately post, and just like you just gotta do it right away. Just jump to the end of the podcast and pick something out. Aha, remember this part? And just post it like 2 minutes after the podcast comes out. I'm a conversation starter, goddammit. Okay. So, Nick, I don't know if you've got one from this trilogy on your list. There are many. My number one was the first thing I thought of when it was like heroic moments. So I'm like, well, it's got to be number one.
Oh.
Shut up. You don't know what it is.
I think I know what it is.
Wait, it won't take the wind out of my sails, but I want you to say it. At the same time, I don't want you to say something Nick might have chosen.
I think it's going to be the I can't carry the ring, Mr. Frodo, but I can carry you.
My choice would have been oops, and he flips the garbage trucks.
Casey Jones is willing to do hard time to stop a threat to this city.
Actually, no,
Wait,
just
what?
like rewind like 10-15 seconds, like just Splinter showing up.
The three of you might have overpowered me with the loss of but one. Now your fate will be his.
Splinter!
Yes, Uroku-saki. I know who you are.
Splinter showing up,
Wait, what's
manhandling Shredder easily, and then making a joke.
That's a great heroic moment.
I mean, it's almost not heroic just for the fact that it's like he's punching down.
Pretty much.
As an alternative to doing the Chad Kroger song, you could also insert Guile's theme if it fits.
Into anything.
Be his.
Splinter!
Yes, Uroku-saki. I know who you are.
It'll also count for this, and Guile's theme works really well. I've seen someone do that for this Splinter clip.
I mean, if anything, it's a heroic moment for Shredder to face off against Splinter.
Yes, I think Guile's theme itself is a heroic moment. Like I could have answered Guile's theme. Like that's my heroic moment.
Oh, it gets me amped.
The creation of Guile's theme is a heroic moment. So the whoever did the soundtrack for Street Fighter, he's the hero.
Chad Kroger. So I'm sorry if I took the wind out of your sails, Dean. Was I right?
No, I said you wouldn't. You were right. That's exactly right.
I mean, even like I don't dislike the movies. I like them. I don't like them to the extent that you guys do, but heroic moment, yeah, that's the
Obviously.
first thing that comes to mind in that movie.
Yeah, there's a lot there's a lot throughout the trilogy, but Samwise Gamgee is, I mean, nowadays it's probably, people would say, yeah, he's obviously the hero, but he's like the unsung hero, really. But he's like the hero of the whole fucking thing.
I mean, it's like most things, is you have the person who takes credit and then the person who does all the work on the project. Lord of the Rings is a perfect example of the corporate world.
I mean, it's the last movie. They got to the, Frodo trips at the finish line. They're pretty much like dehydrated, starving. Frodo is feeling the weight of the ring. It's pretty much ready to consume him. They're laying on the slopes of Mount Doom. Fire and ash raining down everywhere. They, well, I guess not at this point, but it's just a really shitty place. And Frodo, he can't go on. Like, and Sam is holding him in his arms and just trying to make him feel better. He's like, remember, like, we're gonna get home, like, trying to make him remember home. And Frodo's like, I fucking can't remember home.
Something extended.
I don't remember the taste of food. Mr. Frodo, where'd you learn that word? My old gaffer said it a few times.
The ring told me.
Frodo, say fuck to your mother. Yeah. Frodo's like, I can't, like, this. He's ready to give up. And Sam's like, well,
Then let us be rid of it. Once and for all. Come on, Mr. Frodo. I can't carry it for you. But I can carry you. Come on!
I can't carry it for you, the ring. But I can carry you. Fucking picks up Frodo. Fireman's carry. Starts going up the mountain. I was like, if it wasn't... I mean, there's lots of, like, if it wasn't for... Sure, but if it wasn't for Sam, it wasn't for that moment, the ring wouldn't have made it there, and everyone would have died.
If it wasn't for Sam in any moment, the ring wouldn't have made it there.
Yeah. Heroic moment, Sam.
Although it would have been better if instead of fireman's carry, he grabs him, like, by the scalp and drags him behind him all the way up the mountain. Just chucks him into the lava at the end.
Or just by the necklace, the ring, just like drags him by, just like choking him. I can't throw the ring in for you, but I can throw you.
I heard
chucks him into the lava.
I heard a good fan theory lately about that, and when just Frodo's state of being by that point in time, because throughout the whole movie he's doing pretty well repelling the effects of the ring until pretty much he's like, they're like across the street from where they need to go
at the birthplace.
Yeah. And right up to that point, right when they got captured, he had that mithril chest piece, or the chainmail on him that whole time. And it was at that point afterward is when the ring's grasp really started to kind of tighten around him.
Oh, so that was acting.
And
as a
people
barrier?
were saying,
I think there was some elven magic there.
Yeah, it helped protecting him because he got substantially worse going like 1 mile down the road versus traveling that entire time with it, with the ring knowing that was the intention of, I'm going to destroy you. You would have figured it would have tried to do a little bit more on the way there.
What if they wrapped it a bunch of leather, bound it like a soccer ball, and just kicked it all the way there and took turns? I mean, does somebody physically need to wear it to carry it?
I mean, it's constantly wanting and drawing, I think, with its will, things to get it back to Sauron. So
yeah, so if you did turn it into a kickball, it would have found its way of like always rolling perfectly away from you.
Yeah, there'd be a gust of wind that carries it down the mountain into the river goes down.
Yeah. I also found out too that Gandalf is the same race of being as Sauron. So he actually, if he wore the ring, he would not turn invisible.
So what benefit would have it given to him if he wore the ring?
Just a lot of power.
Oh, so it's not specifically invisibility.
Corrupting power.
It gives them other power.
Yeah, it's not so much it gives them invisibility, it slips them into a different dimension.
Right.
And that's why we can't see them. It's just they're in a different
like a
phase
parallel.
of being,
So it's
yeah,
like
exactly.
a Nightcrawler hop.
Is that where he teleports into
Well,
a
I
void
mean, like
and then reappears?
Nightcrawler or what's her Magic, when they would teleport, it would be they would essentially like travel through the hell dimension and come out the other side.
Yeah. So it's probably
Yeah,
similar.
exactly like that.
Yeah.
Exactly like that.
100%. They probably saw each other as they were going through. Devils Gandalf. Blue Devils.
Blue Devils.
What if Gandalf found 10 hobbits that look the same, give only one of them the real ring, and send 10 of them off in different directions?
Well, that's what they did.
Wait, really?
Sauron thought that a hobbit had the ring, so Gandalf's like, well, I have 2 hobbits, so I'm going to split them up.
Oh, is that when he sent... That's when the Merry and Pippin split happens, or...?
Mm-hmm.
That's why they grabbed Merry and Pippin,
Yeah.
It's been so long. The last time I saw those, I think, was when you were living in Mass, and we came to your place in like Worcester to watch them.
I haven't read the books in a while either.
Good times.
To Nick's point, I want to see a what if series where Gandalf takes the ring. What does he do with it? Let's see. Let's get Amazon to do a what if series.
He puts the ring on, and then he shows up at Sauron's, and all of a sudden it's like a close up of his clenched fist, like Arthur.
Bet you didn't expect this, bitch.
You see the giant eye, and it just like closes and looks away. 2 for flinching.
So yeah, Samwise carrying Mr. Frodo to finish their journey.
A fabulous choice.
Super heroic.
Which brings me to an equally important cinematic moment for my number 1.
Somebody farted.
There was a movie that was the 10th in a series of movies.
Well, it's not Fast and the Furious.
Not yet. So in this movie, there's an unstoppable person cast through time, and he is killing all these people on a spaceship. That person is Jason Voorhees, and this movie is Jason X. Jason in space. So
is Jason the hero?
No. So the whole thing is like there's all these students on this ship, and then there's like a security team that's with them as they're like investigating all this stuff and kind of doing like their class work and everything. And they end up finding Jason, who got frozen years earlier, and now he ends up on the ship, like off in the future in space. And they thaw him out, and then he proceeds to murder his way through everyone. There is the leader of like the security team, Sergeant Brodsky, played by Peter Mensah, that is trying to like stop Jason the entire time, and like we have like our female lead and the other male lead, and he has like this android with him, and they're trying to stall Jason so they can get away on the other escape pod. So Sergeant Brodsky fights this guy multiple times, is like beat up. I think he gets like stabbed or whatever, and then he ends up like getting thrown out through like an airlock. He ends up outside or whatever. So towards the end of the movie, spoilers, they think they've blown up Jason. He ends out in space, and they're in their escape pod headed home, and all of a sudden they see Jason coming towards the escape pod from space.
He's coming this way.
And then just as he's about to get them, Sergeant Brodsky comes in and just tackles him in space from the side, knocking him, getting him into like a bear hug, and carrying him through the atmosphere to Earth for a universe pile driver. So he literally trash talks Jason as he carries him through the atmosphere as they burn up, into Earth, and then it cuts to Earth, and you see like a falling star going through. And canonically, that is the final time we see Jason, because there is no movie that has taken place after the events of Jason X. So Sergeant Broski, pour one out for my boy. He did a universe pile driver on Jason Voorhees and took him out at the end of Jason X.
Could really use a wish right now.
What does that couple make a wish on? The couple sees the falling star. They like forget what they say. It's been a while since I saw that.
The season's first snow. It's just ash comes down. Yeah, I don't remember what they say on it, but I just always found it funny for the fact that there's no movie after Jason X, so that means he canonically is the one to take out Jason Voorhees. And all it took was him to fight him multiple times, and then while wounded, tackle him through space and carry him to Earth. I don't want to say
Earth's atmosphere was enough for Jason.
Don't want to say it's better than Return of the King. I didn't see Sam or Frodo do that to Sauron.
That was such a ridiculous moment. That movie has some really funny moments.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it really was like, we know we're being fucking ridiculous, so here we go.
It's fun. I mean, it
has some good kills.
Yeah, like the liquid nitrogen face smash.
That's my favorite
when
one.
they do the what is it, like the VR type thing or the AR, and he ends up doing the sleeping bag, smashing them against.
And
the
he's
tree.
like, they're like still talking to him as he's smashing them against the tree.
Do you want to do drugs or premarital sex?
Yeah, it's a fun movie.
Oh yeah, like it doesn't take itself seriously. Fun. I don't know when people like trash it. It's like it knew that it's not serious.
Do they really? I mean,
there's definitely people that love it. If anything, I'd say it's much better than Jason Goes to Hell, which was 9. Since Jason was barely in it.
What if all those like nanobots like build a new Jason?
I mean, that's essentially what happened to turn him into Super Jason.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like?
I just mean like because his mask is still there in the lake, burned up, but the mask is there.
I don't know. We'll have to find out. They've never made a 13th Friday the 13th. We're on 12.
They
gotta.
I'm just holding out. I want them to do a Friday the 13th movie that takes place in winter. Of like, we're trying to drum up business, so they're doing like a winter thing at this summer camp of like you can skate on the lake and you can do other stuff just so this way there's a reason for people to see a hockey mask and be like, oh, that's normal.
He kills his way through a hockey tournament.
And then he finds out that he's actually really good and he's like, I need to hang up the machete. I'm going pro. He gets signed to the Bruins.
Boo.
He's in Goon 3.
I want to see. I mean, they crossed over with Freddy, which understandable, but
I think that's
let's bring the
canon.
Terminator in this or something.
Yeah, I think though that's as canon as like Alien versus Predator. I don't think that's Is that actually like part of the lore in that, or was that really just a one-off kind of?
Well, so
sort of deal.
Storyline wise, after Freddy versus Jason, they haven't really done anything else, because like the next one after that was Friday the 13th. That wasn't like, it was kind of almost like a
Rob Zombie
reboot type deal.
Or Michael Bay.
That was the Michael Bay one. Yeah, there was it Silver Dunes. So they haven't really continued the storyline after that. So I don't know. And we haven't gotten another Nightmare movie other than that since the remake with Jackie Earle Haley. And prior to that, I think it was New Nightmare.
Let's bring in Rambo and Terminator.
Hey, it's
Jason.
multiverse anything. Like, let's bring in the Cenobites from Hellraiser. Let's bring in Chucky. Like, just print money.
They have... they've got to be considering that right now, right? Like, oh, there's multiverse that Marvel's doing and DC's doing a multiverse, and like, what other, something else is
Yeah.
cooking. It's got to be cooking somewhere else.
Can you like bring back, have like Laurie Strode and Nancy from Nightmare on Elm Street? Bring all of them back. You can bring back Tommy Jarvis from Friday the 13th. Do a multiverse thing of all of the villains from those. Butts and seats.
Yeah, I guess horror would be an obvious one, but
I know Universal tried to bring back their Universal monsters, and that didn't pan out as well as they'd hoped.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, did they kind of stop that after Dracula? They're like,
Well, then they did The Mummy with Tom Cruise, and they tried to introduce like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and all these other things, and then it was no biters.
I didn't give either of those movies a shot.
Dracula was okay at best. I don't know if the Frankenstein one.
Oh, that's right.
With
did that count?
I, Frankenstein? I think I, Frankenstein was based on a comic.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
What about the McAvoy one with Harry Potter?
Oh, that one I forgot about. I think that was called Victor Frankenstein.
That one was okay.
I don't know if that one was part of the dark universe.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I know they tried. I mean, like, I think they bit off more than they can chew because they had huge, massive shoes to fill after Brendan Fraser's first 2 Mummy movies.
Yeah.
I don't think Tom
there's
Cruise
a
might have been the...
I mean, that's just like a whimsical Indiana Jones kind of movie.
Yeah.
It was good.
Whenever it pops up,
They
I'm
tried
like,
to go.
oh, I'll watch The Mummy again. And I watch it, it's like, still holds up. So, Jason X.
Hey, Benny. You're on the wrong side of the river.
O'Connell, I have all the horses.
That guy was such a good shithead. Yeah. Just wanted to slap him.
So that was my number one.
Nicky.
Jason X. Nicholas. What do you got for us?
Another one where it's the end of the movie. Everything seems to be safe and sound. Our heroes are back on their ship. They're recovering, licking their wounds, so to speak, from the terror that they've just witnessed and experienced. And just as they're pretty much thinking that everything is safe, Ripley is talking to the android Bishop, and that's when something thrusts through his chest to see like a spiked tail lifting him up into the air, and the alien queen had actually followed them onto their ship. And without explaining, because it's not explained in the movie, how the alien queen managed to sneak aboard that ship onto the bigger
Carefully.
ship. Right. They are pretty much cornered in a massive empty room with an alien queen that's fixated on killing everything that's currently living in that small space. Ripley tells Newt to hide, and she does what she does best. She finds a couple of vents that she ducks into while Ripley runs away, and she's only gone for not even 20 seconds. But that entire 20 seconds, you're watching at the edge of your seat as that alien queen is ripping apart all of the vent covers trying to get to Newt. And almost in that short time frame, you're so hyper fixated on Newt trying to escape the queen, you forget what Ripley is doing. And with a brilliant callback to the beginning of the movie where she asks, I feel like a fifth wheel around here. Is there anything I can do? She mentions that she knows how to use the power lifters. And the camera pans over to the door that's rising, and you see Ripley standing in the power lifter. She walks up right to the camera, eyes fixated on that alien queen, and she just says,
"Get away from her, you bitch!"
And that scene still,
she really
she laid it in. That was one of the best scenes growing up as a kid, finally being able to watch it. And it's like all of the fear that had struck through me through that whole movie, like I felt like Ripley was the one protecting you, and she went toe to toe against an alien queen in just like this massive power lifter. It's meant for construction. It's not rated for combat whatsoever. It's like, like a massive grizzly bear attacking you, and you get into like a little like caterpillar or something trying to protect yourself and just going, toe to toe with it. She's completely exposed in the whole thing too. At any point, that queen can just, use her tail whip and just skewer her right through her body. But she was able to ward off the queen enough to throw her outside the airlock, just like in the first movie. She blasts the alien queen outside the airlock into space, and who knows what happened to the queen afterward. But I love that scene so much because it really...
No, go ahead.
It's just like the whole thing happens so fast in that, you know, Ripley runs, she draws enough of the queen's attention so that Newt can hide. She runs into like just you don't see what she's doing, but she runs into a room and closes the door behind her, and the queen almost gets her, but the door shuts in time. And that whole rest of the time where the queen is trying to get Newt, you completely forget about Ripley. And it happens so perfectly well that little misdirection of just, is she going to be okay? Is the queen going to get to her? You completely forget. And that by the time you remember, like, oh yeah, Ripley is here. What's she going to do? And you see that power lifter, like, dude, oh my God.
I say that's just one of the best one-liners on top of one of the best just moments in movies.
Mm-hmm.
The one-liner is perfect. The shot is badass, her coming out on the power loader.
Yep, and that delivery,
and just
man.
starts smacking, starts pitch slapping the alien. It's great.
Yep. And just the way that she, like, it's so much conviction and just the way she says that entire line. She's just done with all of this.
It's perfect.
She's done with these these motherfucking aliens on this motherfucking ship.
Well, I like how in the first Alien, it's new, it's terrifying. She's reacting and trying to survive, and this is Aliens is her flipping it, and this is her point of now she's coming after the aliens rather than vice versa.
And in the first, and it's another story of progression. And you see her going through the trauma and the severe PTSD of living through the first movie and then trying to plead her case to the company and being also laughed at. No one believes her. She's brought on as a consultant just because, like, well, your story doesn't pan out, but you're the last person on this planet, so you're coming with us anyway. And then pretty much everything that she's been saying has been true this whole time. And all these elite military badasses, as they call themselves, get completely decimated by this group of aliens. You see her go from just like weakling and like fearful person to like this strong leader that by the end she's, you know, taking command and telling these soldiers what to do, and they're not second guessing her whatsoever. A lot of people still like, you know, I'll go into it a little bit and just like the whole like you know, female heroes and like role models to look up to. Just the fact that like Ripley did all of this stuff and she was ridiculed up until that one single point, and then everything after that they listened to her like they were like she was their commanding officer. They didn't care who she was, just she knew what she was talking about. She didn't care about anything about what anyone said. If it was a bad call, she called you out on it, and she wanted to make sure that everyone was okay at the end of the day. And the amount of times that she took the lead and not even a second's thought going into the alien hive to find the kid that was kidnapped. Like, even Bishop's like, are you sure you want to do this? This girl's dead. And she's like, no, I know she's alive. I'm going to find her. So good.
Well, plus the fact that like her helping Hicks get through after Hicks is like blasts the other one in the elevator and ends up getting coated with acid. It's at the end of this, she's the only one really standing.
Yeah.
Which I hate the off-screen deaths they do for Alien 3.
That's why I'm more bitter about...
I don't think I've ever seen that one, or Resurrection.
There's two different cuts to Alien 3. It doesn't radically change the story, but the director's cut does include a lot more into it, and it fleshes out the characters a little bit better than the theatrical one did. But it is kind of frustrating on how they just... You had this awesome world building in the second movie, and then come the third one, it's just thrown out the window entirely.
Because third was Fincher, right?
Did Fincher... Yeah, did he come in at the end of that? Like I've got to like take over this production, like Ron Howard and Solo or kind of thing? Or was he on the whole time?
I feel
like he got the shit end of the stick, just like, you gotta do this movie and it starts tomorrow.
I mean, I feel like Alien 3 is the...
art house flick?
Well, it's the art house flick, but also, what was the second Star Wars of the new trilogy?
The Last Jedi. Yeah,
it's the Last
I can see
Jedi of
that.
the Alien series. It's, hey, we started with this story, we've built on it, we've added to our world. This is how we left off. Well, I have a story in mind, so let me just knock over all these toys and start from where I want to.
I think it was the writers too, though, because they wanted to do the prison thing really early on. They wanted to do, like, imagine the Death Star, but it's a prison and it's made out of wood. Not exaggerating.
Luke would have crushed
but there was
Oh, wait, I can fire anywhere, R2?
You're right. But yeah, it was all over the place. I think they just had a really hard time. Like, how do we follow up with aliens?
Which
I think is silly.
If that's the case, if they had the idea of like the whole prison system and whatnot from there, I would have liked it better if they decided not to continue with Ripley, if that's the case. Because, okay, so Ripley heads off, we have Hicks, we have Newt. We could always go back to their story at some point, but rather than like cutting that short and saying, yep, well, that's the end of that there, and now they're at this prison. Have a new set of characters. I'm sure there's aliens in other places. Then this way, if they can leave the door open, so if they want to go back to Ripley and say, okay, for Alien 4, now we're going to continue her story.
That's why I was really upset when I heard that Neil Blomkamp's Alien was not going to be greenlit because Ridley Scott decided to relight his own take of it.
Yeah.
Because he was going to do like kind of like a Terminator Dark Fate sort of thing, where he was going to retcon Terminator 3 and everything afterward with the way that he was going to design the movie, that he was going to continue on from Aliens, and that everything that happened afterward was just like a sick dream that Ripley was having. And Hicks was supposed to be there, and they were supposed to be leading like this kind of rebel guerrilla group trying to defend against the aliens and stuff, with the company still pretty much ignoring everything and wanting to weaponize the aliens if they ever found any. So
that would have been cool.
Yeah.
But alas.
If only. But yes, that's my top heroic moment number 1. Get away from her, you bitch.
So we started with a smile, you son of a bitch. We end with a get away from here, you bitch. Bookends.
It's like poetry. It rhymes.
I thought this was a great topic. And look, Tim, you don't have to take notes for us to fill an episode. We're, an hour 45, hour 50.
Probably like an hour 35, hour 40.
Yeah, there's a lot of tangential information here. It was
people
fun.
like that.
That's what happens. That's what happens.
That's showbiz, baby.
Got a spitball.
Mm-hmm.
Have chemistry.
But I thought it was a fun TikTok. I'll send a couple of the ones. Tim, I'll just send you the anime playlist because I'm sure you'll recognize quite a bit of them.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's a few DBZ ones in there. I looked for the one that you mentioned, but it wasn't there. But I think Vegeta has a couple.
Yeah, because definitely Vegeta during the Buu saga, when he has to destroy Buu before he gets too powerful, so he knocks out Goku or whatever, and then decides to go by himself and blow himself up to stop him.
Yeah, that was one of the TikToks that was
I remember as a kid, we used to watch anime music videos that my brother and I would find online, and somebody did that scene to My Sacrifice by Creed. And it stuck in my head ever since, and now I can't not think about that scene in Dragon Ball Z.
My Sacrifice.
Without thinking of Creed.
Yeah, so I want to thank that TikTok creator, Cellphone.wallet.keys, once again for a really good idea. And his first one was the Iron Giant.
Oh, yeah.
And that's pretty much like,
I thought that might have come up between the two of you. I wasn't sure if it would or not.
I didn't like Iron Giant that much as a kid. I grew to appreciate it a lot more growing up, but that never really stood out much when I was younger, when it first came out anyway.
I don't think I saw it until I was 18.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when it came out, but I never really... I was like, oh, this is cool. I was still in the anti-cartoon movie kick because I still expected a musical every 5 minutes. Alrighty then. That wraps up another episode of Rule of Thirds, and I'd like to thank you all for coming along on our ride and discussing our favorite heroic moments. Again, I actually want to give a personal shout out to Cellphone.wallet.keys for this amazing idea. You can find them both on TikTok and Instagram with the handle cellphone_wallet_keys. As always, you can reach us over on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Screen Refresh, or shoot an email over at screenrefresh@gmail.com to let us know what your top 3 would be, or any topics you want to hear us discuss. And that's it for us. So for Tim and Dean, this is Nick. You have a great week now, and catch us next on Screen Refresh, the first Monday of the month.